Up next, and every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, tune in to Grand Theft Auto Biographies with Guiness Walker. And don't forget Grand Theft Auto Geographies, Fridays at 9 a.m. Eastern. Only on Weazel, confirming your prejudices.
Warning, this program is entirely fictional and made by a sole Canadian man. All characters and events in the show, including the host, even those that are based on real people, are entirely fictional. The following program contains mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
America, the land of the free, home of the brave, and the stupid, and the criminally insane. The United States has seen its fair share of gangbangers, mobsters, and psychotics who've roamed our beloved streets, causing untold chaos, destruction, and corruption. Tonight, on the Season 2 premiere of Grand Theft Auto Biographies. Arrogance, greed, and recklessness. These are but some of the characteristics of tonight's subject. We will examine a woman whose tenacity and ambition seemingly knew no bounds. We will witness love.
I think I love you.
Betrayal.
We always got a choice, you dumb bastard.
Destruction. And much more, as we delve deeper into the fragile psyche of a woman who committed enough atrocities across the glorious United States in pursuance of her need to remain in control to rival that of any aspiring assassin or contract killer. Tonight, in our season premiere, we will examine a woman who stood in stark contrast to the man she betrayed and left for dead, always having something to say about misandry, cannibalism, or bank robberies. Catalina. This episode of Grand Theft Auto Biographies is brought to you by my incredible supporters on Patreon. If you want to support the channel and get access to all the music used in my shows, as well as early access to episodes and a spot in the credits, visit patreon.com/Guinness Walker. And since I know a lot of you who watch still aren't subscribed, please, if you enjoy this content, consider subscribing. It helps a lot more than you might think. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the show. Very little is known about Catalina's early life. She was likely born in the early 1970s, as by 2001 she appeared to be in her late 20s or possibly early 30s. It can be confirmed that she was related to friend of Carl Johnson, Cesar Villalpando, although whether or not she was born in the United States or shared his last name also remains a mystery. Catalina's parents were likely divorced, as she alludes to having had a stepfather at one point, which may or may not have contributed to her misandrist and overall violent lifestyle and distaste for men in general, due to his own abusive personality. Wherever Catalina lived during her early years is also unknown, but by 1992 she was living in Red County, San Andreas, where she began working with Carl Johnson at the behest of her cousin. She would meet Johnson at the Welcome Pump in Dillamore, where he was quickly introduced to the chaotic violence that she brought with her wherever she went, fighting two men with a knife at a bar who seemingly had done her no wrong.
What the fuck did you want?
Nothing. I'm looking for a friend of mine's cousin,
Come on,
Mexican
bitch.
guy.
Get off.
He ain't here.
You? But Cesar said you was a real man.
Crazy.
Lady, I'm a God-fearing, peace-loving man of the people.
Whatever, asshole. Let's go.
Damn, relax, baby.
While the two were initially meant to work together strictly for business purposes, in order to help Carl Johnson obtain enough money to help free his incarcerated brother, Catalina would quickly develop a relationship with Johnson and, at least in her own words, a true affection for him, in whatever capacity she was capable of doing so. Together the two would form a true criminal relationship, and begin performing crimes together across the country, following it up with raunchy sex.
I'm so sorry, baby.
What was that?
You so right. Please forgive me, baby. Just don't fucking shoot me, please!
Do you think you're sorry? Huh? How you going to prove you're sorry?
Come on now, baby. Come on. I'm gonna play with you so rough, baby.
Keep talking!
Yeah. And I'll take you to rob banks and shit.
Oh?
And, you know, I'll let you kill anyone you want to kill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna treat you right, baby. Shit. Just, come on. Just please don't shoot
Carl,
me.
I think I love you.
Shit, that's great. Cool. Yeah, fantastic. Shit, all that, you wanna go rob some shit, baby?
If you've ever been to Red County, you may have noticed the abundance of rednecks, lager, and flat, empty land. However, if you lived there in 1992, you may have just witnessed the series of robberies which shook the entire county, that were committed by Catalina and her lover for money and pleasure. It isn't strictly clear which order these crimes were committed in, but it is known that Catalina and Carl together robbed a gas station, a bank, an inside betting shop, and a small liquor store, all in the space of just a couple of days. In Dillamore, the two would rob a gas station, with Catalina quickly deciding the real target was the station's unattended gas tanker. The two would flee in the truck, but be pursued by the employees, with an unconventional attachment to their blue-collar jobs, who were willing to put life and limb at risk to try and stop their theft, and were almost certainly killed by the couple as a reward for their loyalty to the corporate overlords. In Palomino Creek, the couple would rob a bank, armed with pump-action shotguns, and even end up killing some of the customers when an alarm is set off, although it is believed that these first murders were committed by Johnson before the two gathered up as much cash as they could and fled the bank, killing every police officer in their path. They would steal a pair of police bikes and flee through the town until eventually Catalina was stopped, forcing Carl to kill several more police officers to save her before the two fled back to their safe house. In Montgomery, the couple would rob a betting shop, and although Catalina would attempt to not kill anyone at first, after an employee presses a panic button, she loses her cool and kills an innocent customer to show she meant business. She would have Carl place satchel charges on the door to the safe room, and then the safe itself, in order to obtain the cash before the two fled the shop, escaping the police and returning to their hideout once again. Finally, in Blueberry, the two would attempt to rob a liquor store, only to find that it was already being robbed by rednecks on ATVs. Catalina would manage to kill one of them as they fled, and the two would then give chase, killing all of the other robbers and robbing them of their payout, after an intense and chaotic fight across the countryside. After each successful robbery together, the relationship between Carl Johnson and Catalina will become strained, with it becoming increasingly evident to Catalina that Carl was primarily interested in money and not in her, which only fueled her misandry and desire, at least vocally, to kill Johnson herself. After several sexual encounters with Carl, including a particularly taboo BDSM session, Catalina would call off their relationship, although in secret she actually wanted Carl to fight for her, furthering her hate for him when he instead seems almost pleased to no longer be bound to her.
Asshole!
Damn, what I do now?
Do all the fucking same, eh? I see it on television, I read it in books, I hear it in music. Do all the same. Fuck this, fuck that. Well, fuck you!
Baby, I'm sorry.
I gave to you as a woman. No! No more! From now on, we just business partners, okay?
Hey, if that's how you want it, but I mean, you breaking my heart.
I'm warning you. I'm in a really bad fucking mood. Today, I kill everybody who fucks with me. Especially you. Move!
Not long after breaking up with Carl, however, Catalina would find a new man in San Fierro street racer Claude, whose own backstory we've explored in the very first episode of GTA Biographies. It seems entirely likely that Catalina's relationship with Claude was based solely on her desire to make Carl jealous, at least at first, which doesn't appear to have worked as Carl never showed much interest in Catalina following their successful robberies. Catalina and Claude would race at least twice against Carl Johnson, with Catalina hoping for Claude's victory in order to emasculate Carl. Unfortunately for Catalina's ego, however, Carl would manage to defeat Claude in the race both times, and in order to avoid giving away Claude's car, Catalina would instead give Carl a pink slip to a garage in Doherty San Fierro that Claude used to own. On the heels of defeat, Catalina and Claude would flee San Andreas and begin a 9-year crime spree across the United States. Although seemingly dedicated to her new partner in crime, Catalina would continue to make teasing calls to Carl throughout the rest of 1992, though it is unknown if she continued to do so beyond that year. Liberty City. A dirty and deprived city that has served as the backdrop for many criminal stories, including tonight's, with its dark alleys, alluring criminal enterprises, and myriad methods of circumventing capital punishment thanks to the city's long and storied history with crime. By the year 2001, Claude and Catalina would arrive in Liberty City as they continued their crime spree robbing banks across the country. It isn't exactly clear at what point, but sometime during this 9-year period, Catalina met and befriended high-ranking members of the Colombian cartel, including a man named Miguel, who joined the pseudo Bonnie and Clyde as they attempted to rob the Bank of Liberty. During the robbery, Catalina would decide to betray Claude, deeming him small time, shooting him and leaving him for dead. But instead of dying, Claude is instead captured and arrested, later receiving 10 years prison time for his crimes. Believing Claude to be dead or in prison, Catalina would continue to work with the Colombian cartel, and somehow, through sheer force of will and dangerous ambition, managed to climb her way to the top of the organization in a relatively short amount of time. With her newfound power, Catalina would continue to seek higher highs by expanding the cartel's influence in the city through a new drug called Spank. With Miguel now serving as Catalina's second-in-command, she would begin espionage to try and slow her primary competitors on Portland, in the Leone family, making a deal with a former bartender from Luigi's Sex Club 7, Curly Bob, to learn more about what the Leones were planning. Unbeknownst to Catalina, however, presumably other leadership elements of the cartel had inadvertently freed Claude when they successfully stopped his prison convoy en route to its destination in order to kidnap the old Oriental gentleman who was a business associate of Donald Love, whom the cartel had a long history with. While Catalina was continuing to make moves for her own gain, Claude had been quietly building up a reputation in the city, and was already working for the Leones, in an attempt to get closer to Catalina for revenge. Despite believing herself to be several steps ahead of her ex-boyfriend, not long after meeting with Curly Bob, Claude would kill him, and use information he'd obtained to destroy the cartel's freighters docked in Portland Harbor, which they'd been using to produce their drug, severely crippling their organization's power and grip on Portland. Following the destruction of their freighter, Claude allied himself with many of the cartel's enemies, still trying to get closer to his ex-lover, dealing another major blow when he stokes a gang war between them and the Yakuza by stealing a cartel vehicle and attacking a Yakuza meeting, killing the Wakagashira, Kenji Kassen, and sparking the rage of the new leader, his sister, Asuka Kassen. Catalina, still unaware that her ex was alive and actively working against her, and trying to maintain her new position as leader of the cartel, would continue their war against Donald Love and the Yakuza, sending several soldiers to intercept and steal a mysterious package at the airport for presumably the sole reason of hurting Donald. But once again, Claude would arrive on scene, kill the Colombians, and find a clue leading him to the cartel's new base at the Love Media-owned Fort Staunton construction site, which they'd taken over. Stunned to see that Claude was still alive, Catalina would shoot her new lover, or alleged lover, Miguel, in the back, in order to escape Claude's vengeance, leaping from the building into a pile of boxes below that just barely breaks her fall. She now knew who her enemy was, and she would show no mercy.
God knows what it is, but he seems to want it badly enough, so it must be worth something.
Who the heck?
You!
Hey, take it easy, amigo. No es nada, no es nada.
I left you pouring your heart out into the gutter!
Hey, don't shoot, amigo. No problem. We all friends. Here,
Don't be
take
such a
this.
pussy!
Hey, we got no choice, baby. Yeah.
You always got a choice, you dumb bastard!
I'm sorry about the crazy bitch, man. They're all the same, please. Por favor.
Working with the Yakuza, Claude would continue to strike blow after blow to the cartel's infrastructure for distributing drugs across the city, further enraging Catalina with every loss he incurred upon them. Eventually, Catalina would form an alliance with King Courtney of the Uptown Yardies, and use Claude's willingness to take on work from almost any criminal operator to lure him into a trap. After doing several jobs for Courtney, the Yardies leader would send Claude on one more job, which was in reality an ambush orchestrated by Catalina. Unfortunately for her, however, Claude would survive the attack, and managed to kill all of the spanked-out madmen that she sent after him, before continuing his unrelenting march towards revenge. Eventually, likely using her eyes and ears on the streets from numerous Colombian cartel soldiers, Catalina would return to the construction site when Claude was absent, and kill Asuka Kassen and Miguel, whom Asuka had been torturing for information, impaling Miguel on the whipping stick Asuka had been using on him. Pinned to their corpses, she would leave a ransom note, having kidnapped Claude's presumed new woman, Maria Latour, former wife to Salvatore Leone and possible lover of Asuka Kassen, bringing her to a mansion in Cedar Grove as hostage. Believing what she perhaps thought was Claude's weakness for women would help her to extort and once again betray her former lover, Catalina would arrogantly demand $500,000 from Claude, which he surprisingly delivered, falling for her trap once again. Catalina would take the money and Maria, leaving Claude to deal with her guards, while she fled in a helicopter to Cochrane Dam, where a final confrontation between the two would take place.
The real question is, did you turn up to rescue Maria or to get me back? Well, I got news for you. Shooting you will be a pleasure, but dating you was only business. You are muy pequeñito, amigo. throw over the cash, and you can have this overused puta back. You have been a PC boy, but you haven't learned. I'm not to be trusted. Kill the idiot!
Unsurprisingly, Claude would manage to overpower and defeat the foot soldiers she'd left for him, and not long after fleeing the mansion for the dam, her ex would once again arrive and methodically cut through her forces one by one. Perhaps finally fearing the man she deemed as small time, Catalina in her final moments would escape to her helicopter, maybe even intending to abandon the fight altogether and hope that her men defeated him. As regular viewers of this show already know, however, Catalina did not escape, and at some point during the chaos, Claude would manage to score a lucky hit on her chopper using a rocket launcher, destroying the vehicle and leaving little doubt that she had finally been obliterated. Beyond Claude, it is thought that nobody survived the massacre at Cochrane Dam. Not the Colombian soldiers, not the helicopter pilot, not Catalina, and according to many people, not even Maria Latour. Catalina was a rare breed of crazy. Known for her outbursts of disproportionate anger, especially towards men, and especially towards men she was romantically involved with, she would easily be described as a firebrand, passion-driven, ambitious psychopath with a penchant for reckless and violent behavior, and a short fuse for anyone who doesn't do as she desires. A classic example of a psychopath, Catalina seemingly cared for only herself, even when displaying superficial attachment to her boyfriends. They rarely served as anything other than toys, which she used to amuse herself, oftentimes to the man's detriment. It has been alleged that Catalina may have even killed and cooked some of her former boyfriends, though it is entirely possible this was merely exaggeratory bragging, as Catalina was well known for her open and proud hatred of all men.
I mean that I love you!
What the fuck?
As mentioned in the beginning of our episode, it is believed by some that Catalina may have suffered abuse at the hands of a stepfather, which may or may not partially explain her violent and hateful attitude towards the male sex, and her need to express herself through violence in general, though it must be stressed, this remains highly speculative and could not be confirmed. What can be stated with a great deal of certainty, though, is that Catalina was not a woman most men should have taken lightly, and she proved on numerous occasions that she had the ambition, drive, and tenacity to pull off incredible things, such as single-handedly propelling herself to the leader of the Colombian cartel. In the end, her only downfall as a criminal was underestimating her own accomplices. Catalina appeared to be of Mexican, Dominican, and Colombian descent, though how much of each is anybody's guess. Her exact style of dress, hair, and seemingly skin tone changed quite dramatically between the 90s and early 2000s, having medium brown skin and brown eyes while living on the West Coast, and becoming noticeably lighter skinned by the time she arrived on the East Coast, possibly owing to her no longer receiving a regular tan, as well as possibly donning contact lenses. She was a fiery Latin woman whose ability to manipulate and rope in sexual partners thanks to her body was matched only by her endless need for more power and attention. The list of crimes committed by Catalina is almost certainly massive. However, due to a large amount of that crime being obscured by the monolithic Colombian cartels of the 90s and early 2000s, discerning exactly how many she killed or how many crimes she committed is a fruitless task. Keeping in mind that what we know is only scratching the surface of this woman's criminal background should give you an idea of just how dangerous she was at the height of her power. The crimes she committed, which we could confirm, are robbing a betting shop in Montgomery and killing a civilian, robbing a liquor store in Blueberry and killing several other robbers, robbing a bank in Palomino Creek and killing several police officers, robbing a gas station in Dillamore, stealing a tanker, and killing the station attendants, participating in 2 illegal races in Red County, robbing numerous banks across the country between 1992 and 2001, the exact number is unknown, robbing the Bank of Liberty in 2001, attempting to kill her boyfriend Claude the first time, possibly being involved in the plot to kidnap the Oriental Gentleman and destroy the Callahan Bridge, possibly being involved in ransoming the Oriental Gentleman to Donald Love, ordering the theft of a package belonging to Donald Love from Francis International Airport, shooting her possible lover and partner Miguel in the back, organizing a hit on Claude with help from the Uptown Yardies, killing Miguel and Asuka Kasen, holding Maria Latour hostage, being responsible for a massive shootout at Cochrane Dam. Once again, though, we must emphasize that at least according to several sources, at least briefly, Catalina served as the true highest-ranking member of the Colombian cartel, which means that without a doubt the number of deaths and other crimes she is responsible for far exceeds what we were able to find for our list. Never underestimate the power of ambition mixed with crazy. As the story goes, violence in the end can only ever lead to more violence, and Catalina's destructive romp across the US is a perfect example of getting what's coming to you. America is a dangerous place, folks. You would never know if that cute Latin girl you met at the supermarket last week is actually secretly running an international drug cartel. Stay ever vigilant, America, for lurking around every corner of our humble American lives lies the potential for chaos to erupt at the drop of a very expensive, overvalued plush hat. Stay indoors, people, and thank you for tuning in to the Season 2 premiere of Grand Theft Auto Biographies with me, your host, Guiness Walker. I'll see you next time.